Bugatti is trying to hide something from the public. Picture this. If there was nothing to protect, they would have simply stayed silent and let this rebuild happen, since they've already hinted they are not helping for safety concerns. Instead, they chose the opposite route. To them, Matt Armstrong crossed the red line by stripping a $3 million hypercar in a private garage without their consultation. Maybe the real asset isn't the car being worked on. It's the information Matt is giving out to the public. And now they are afraid. Not because of this one car, but what happens next. Because others will try. And once their secrets spread, their control weakens, and this creates long-term tension. Their biggest mistake might have been failing to buy this car from the auction. Now it's coming back to hurt them. Look, if you want to see how this story ends, make sure you're subscribed, because this situation is evolving fast. And hitting that like button genuinely helps us keep digging into stories the big brands don't want told. Alright, let's get into this. Here's what's strange. Bugatti hasn't said much. No full statement, no press conference, no real explanation beyond vague safety concerns. And that silence, it's deafening. Because when a brand this powerful stays quiet, people notice. They start asking questions. They start filling in the blanks themselves. And the blanks they're filling, they're not pretty. Think about it. If this was just about one wrecked car in a garage, why not laugh it off? Why not ignore it completely? Big companies ignore irrelevant noise every single day. But they're not ignoring this. They're watching. They're responding. They're involved. And that tells you everything you need to know. When silence becomes the loudest part of the conversation, you have to ask yourself, what are they protecting? But this is where it gets more interesting. Because maybe the real asset here isn't the car itself. It's the information. See, when Matt tears down a Chiron on camera, he's not just pulling parts off a fancy machine. He's exposing how it all works. The systems, the software, the diagnostics, the procedures that are normally locked behind dealer-only access. And here's the thing. Bugatti controls all of that. The diagnostic software, proprietary, the service manuals, restricted, the calibration tools, you can't buy them. Even the parts come with serial numbers that link back to specific cars. It's a closed ecosystem, and it's designed that way on purpose. Because when you control the knowledge, you control the market. You control who can fix these cars. You control where they get serviced. You control the pricing. You control everything. But now, Matt's putting pieces of that puzzle on YouTube. For free. For everyone. And that's a problem. Not for the car. For the business model. Let's be real for a second. Bugatti is not a small company. They're backed by Volkswagen Group. They have lawyers. They have PR teams. They have resources most of us can't even comprehend. So when a company that size decides to pay attention to one guy in a garage rebuilding one car, you have to ask, why? Why does this matter to them? If it was truly insignificant, they'd let it fade into the background. They'd let Matt finish his rebuild, post his videos, and move on. But they're not doing that. They're engaged. They're concerned. They're involved in ways that suggest this is bigger than it looks. Big brands don't waste time on small threats. If they're reacting, it's because they see risk, real risk. The kind that could cost them more than one $3 million car. And here's what's really happening. Every time Matt posts a new video, the curtain moves a little bit. You start seeing things you weren't supposed to see, like how much parts actually cost, how the service network really operates, how much control the manufacturer has over every single aspect of ownership. This isn't just about rebuilding a car. It's about revealing an entire world that's been hidden from public view. The hypercar world thrives on mystique, on exclusivity, on the idea that these machines are untouchable, unrepairable, unreachable by normal people. But when someone pulls back that curtain, even just a little, it changes the conversation. People start realizing these cars aren't magic. They're machines. Complex machines, sure, but machines nonetheless. And machines can be understood. They can be fixed. They can be rebuilt. And that realization, that's dangerous. Because once people know it's possible, they start trying it themselves. But here's the real issue Bugatti is facing. It's not about this one Chiron, it's about what happens if Matt succeeds. If he proves you can rebuild a $3 million hypercar without factory support. If he shows the process, step by step, mistake by mistake. If he documents the parts, the tools, the software workarounds, then what? Then others will try. Other creators, other mechanics, other wealthy car enthusiasts who don't want to pay $50,000 for an oil change. And suddenly, the floodgates open. Wrecked Chirons, crashed Veyrons, Totaled hypercars that were supposed to stay totaled, they all become fair game. And when that happens, Bugatti loses something critical. Control. Control over their service network. Control over their parts pricing. Control over their brand image. Control over who gets to own and operate these machines. This is the precedent they're afraid of. Not one car, not one rebuild, but the idea that it's even possible. Because ideas spread. And once they spread, you can't put them back in the box. So let's zoom out for a second. What does this look like 5 years from now? 10 years? If Matt finishes this rebuild and it works, you've just opened a door that can't be closed. You've shown the world that the Emperor has no clothes. That these cars, as incredible as they are still just cars. And with enough knowledge, enough patience, enough determination, they can be brought back to life. That's the long-term tension Bugatti is dealing with. Because right now, they own the entire life cycle of their vehicles, from the factory floor to the scrapyard. But if independent rebuilds become common, that ownership ends. The mystique fades, the exclusivity weakens, the control slips away. And maybe that's why they're watching this so closely. Maybe that's why silence has been their weapon of choice. Because the less they say, the more they hope this goes away quietly. But it's not going away. It's getting bigger. Here's where we are. Matt's still building, Bugatti's still watching, and the rest of us? We're waiting to see what happens next. Because if this rebuild works, it changes everything. Not just for Matt, not just for this car, but for every hypercar that's ever been written off as unrepairable. The real question isn't whether Matt can finish this project, it's what happens when he does. How many others will follow? How many wrecked hypercars will suddenly become viable rebuilds? How much control will the manufacturers lose? And maybe that's the answer Bugatti doesn't want us to find out. Think about the ripple effect. One successful rebuild becomes a blueprint. That blueprint gets shared. Suddenly there's a community forming around independent hypercar restoration. People start reverse engineering the diagnostic tools. Someone figures out the software encryption. Parts suppliers that only dealt with authorized dealers start quietly selling to independent builders. The whole system that took decades to build starts cracking at the seams, and it all traces back to this moment, to this one car, to this one decision by Bugatti to stay silent instead of adapting. Because here's what they're really afraid of. It's not just losing control of repairs, it's losing control of the narrative. The narrative that says these cars are too complex, too advanced, too special for anyone outside their network to touch. Once that narrative breaks, everything else follows. The premium service charges become harder to justify. The mandatory dealer visits become questionable. The whole ecosystem that generates millions in post-sale revenue starts looking fragile. And that's billions of dollars over time across their entire fleet. So yeah, they're watching. They're calculating. They're measuring the cost of intervention versus the cost of letting this play out. And every day Matt posts another video, that calculation gets more complicated. If you want to follow this story as it develops, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. And trust me, it's about to get a lot more interesting.